I had a pretty disjointed perspective on money throughout my life. And it wasn't anyone's fault. For me, I feel like I wasn't figuring it out. And I was just kind of going forward in seasons where I felt like money did grow on trees. And then I had seasons where I was like, oh my gosh, we have to conserve. And I was all over the map. And my answer was, I know how to work hard. So no matter how I feel, I'm always going to work myself into the ground to make sure that money is still there. And I was serving clients at the expense of my family. And I was undercharging because who am I to charge more? And this is easy. People are saying yes to this. I don't want to mess with a good thing. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. All those mentalities. And I was worrying constantly, even when revenue looked really strong on paper, even when profit looked really strong on paper and in reality, it always just felt like it wasn't enough. And worst of all, my calling felt heavy to me because the business that was supposed to be a blessing really started to feel like a burden. Like it felt like something I had to do because I had to create money and we got to do this. We got to launch this because I need more money and we got to pay the team. And it was just always something. And I hit this breaking point. I nearly lost my life. Nothing is more clarifying and gets you clarity on pretty much everything faster than facing your own mortality at a reasonably young age. And I just remember lying in that hospital bed and my prayers started to shift from like, Lord, help me survive this. You have to help me survive this to, okay, God, like your will, not mine, right? Like help me see what you see and trust you. A big part of that was letting go of the things in my life that were controlling my thoughts and how I functioned. And one of those things was money, which is tied directly to my business. Money's not evil. It's a tool. And it's not meant to be something that no matter what you earn, it creates a massive pressure in your life. And in the hands of the right people, it's a tool for freedom and impact and legacy and opportunity. I had to rewire a lot of belief systems there though. And I had 3 specific shifts when I was reflecting back on my journal that I noticed as themes as to what I was shifting out of. And one of them was, I can't afford it, to how can I afford it? I noticed just a default reaction to how I looked at things that had a bigger price tag. It was like, oh, I just can't afford that. Even if we could. Like, even if my husband, who does our our CFO of our company, is looking at it, is like, Liz, we can more than afford it. In fact, it'd be a wise investment. In fact, it would be a great tax write-up. Like he had all, I'm like, no, we can't afford that. Like I just had this scarcity mindset that was plaguing every corner of my life. And that's what scarcity says, right? Like scarcity says this mastermind is too expensive, instead of saying, this mastermind will add so much value to me that it creates a massive ROI. Like I'm not looking at the value. I'm just looking at like, what is the cost? Or hiring that team member is too risky, instead of saying, wait, if we hire this team member, I can be in my sweet spot where I generate more revenue. Or investing in coaching is irresponsible, instead of saying like, it's irresponsible for me to stay stuck where I'm at right now. I need to invest in a coach. So there were so many things that I was just staying stuck with, and I had to start asking myself new questions. So one of the questions that helped me really reframe was, what becomes possible if I say yes to this? Stop like looking at the price tag on everything, or what would have to happen for this investment to pay for itself 10 times. That was one that was super empowering to me. When I started writing the book, I made a massive investment. It scared the pants off me. It was more than we put down for our first house. It was significantly more, like 4 times more than we put down for our first house. And I was like, oh my God, I'm nuts. Like I kind of had a moment where I didn't look at the price tag and I went with my gut. And then I was like starting to itemize everything. And then I just asked myself, wait, what would have to happen during the duration of this investment for it to pay for itself 10 times over so that it's a no-brainer? And I started to actually strategically map that out. And I felt so much more empowered. I was like, oh, this is an investment that will create big returns, that will create a positive ripple effect that I'm wanting. And the first time I applied this, I felt such a freedom and a liberation, and I was able to leverage it fully, instead of being in this partnership, this investment, feeling like I better get my money's worth. If I don't eke out every cent, it's not worth it. I'm itemizing every day. Every call, I'm trying to like, well, this call just cost me $15,000 if I'm breaking it down based on how many calls I get. Everything felt like that. I shifted from that and I started to see the opportunity with it. And we've started to build momentum. And the ROI wasn't just revenue. It was confidence. It was clarity. It was proximity to the right people or opportunities. It was access to a level of thinking that I just couldn't generate on my own before that. And that single investment reframed how I evaluate this type of decision every single time I face it. I want you to take a moment and think of the things that you've been balking at, whether it be the mastermind or the coach or just the tool that you need within your business or the hire you need to make or the vacation you friggin' need to take with your family, like whatever that thing might be. And just say, how can this pay dividends? Like, how can I leverage this in a way where there's a huge ROI on this investment? The second shift I had to make was just going from money is so scarce. Like, it's so hard to produce. A lot of times we say this when we're coming out of a tough season or a launch that didn't go right, or we didn't sign as many clients, or like whatever the thing is for you, to money, I can create this. Right? There's an energy to it. I used to believe that money was so finite, especially for me, right? Like, I could see people and hear other people's stories of abundance and possibility, all these things. But for me, every last dollar that I made had to be scraped and fought for. And then I started to see and really experience that money gets magnetized towards value. Like, when you create high value and demand, money comes. It expands when it's in circulation, not when it's sitting capturing dust. So we started making more investments, like getting our money moving more. We started giving more, which felt really good. And money just amplifies what's already in you, good or bad. And the moment I really started to embrace that, I started to see just such a shift. I stopped apologizing for charging a premium and I started attracting the right people. I stopped selling time for money. I started selling transformation, and it just made sense. And clients didn't hesitate. Whereas before, when my prices were lower, it was harder to sell. Before, when I was selling, something itemized, it was harder to sell. And then all of a sudden I was like, whoa, selling just became a lot easier, because aligned clients aren't buying time, they're buying outcomes and speed. The third shift I had to make was, I'm not worth it, which was a hard one for me to even see. It was kind of like buried under layers of other stuff and other masks. And I shifted to, I'm responsible for stewarding this money. So like, I'm not worth it to, I'm responsible for being a good steward of this. And this was definitely like the deepest layer for me. It wasn't about money itself. It was about worthiness for me. Who am I to charge this? Who's going to want this? Who am I to do this work? Why would anybody care? It just had these like deep-seated crap that I didn't even know was there. And then it was really cool when I just kind of handed it over and it became like a partnership with God, where I was like, oh, none of this is even mine. None of this is even mine. What comes of this is not mine. This abundance is not about me. It's about who I can serve, who I can employ and make their lives better, who I can lead, who I can give to, how I can pay it forward, how I can steward it well, how my family is experiencing my calling. Playing small isn't humble. There's a selfish nature to it because it's a protection of your ego. There are people praying for what you have the ability to create when you stop shrinking. Like, they're praying for you to create it for them, for their benefit. And the moment I started to embrace that, that's when everything changed. And what happened practically was I was able to raise my prices in alignment and in integrity with what I was delivering. The right clients weren't flinching. And I built a high-performing team of leaders without the burnout. I was able to make bigger investments that our family was being led into outside of just our regular business model. I was able to invest in myself so that what I was then doing in the world was a result of overflow and not force. I was able to work with incredible partners, like business partners like John Maxwell, and really serving him and within his organization and coming in and leading there. My revenue multiplied, but so did my level of peace and integrity and clarity. My family experienced a version of me that I only could have dreamed of being before, because before there was just so much pressure and we had margin financially and emotionally, and my business was aligned with the life that I felt like God was calling me to lead. And I'm saying life, not just business, like what was placed on my heart in every corner of my life. My kids are growing up hearing a very different message about money. And my marriage operates not from scarcity anymore, but like just this unification around how we're stewarding it well. Not so how we can accumulate it, not so we can have more stuff, so that we can steward it well. We can do more of what God's calling us to. And I wake up every day knowing that my business is a vehicle, not a master. Your big next is not just waiting for better tactics, might be part of it, but it's waiting for a new level of belief about what's possible, what you need to let go of in terms of scarcity. And when you reframe your money mindset, I think the next logical question is, okay, how do you price? right? Like, how do you develop your offers in a way that is in integrity and does attract the right people? This is something we go into great detail in the Visionary CEO Mastermind. So if you're looking for direct support, like if you're basically looking for me and my team to come around you for the next year and be like, this is the path into your big next and what you're called to in those corners of your life, that's where you want to go next. So go to the link below, apply, because it's invite only, and we only invite from applicants once we get through some of our waitlist people. Okay, until next time.